This is your brain. And this is your brain on Square Enix. It was a bizarre year for games right now, isn't it? I mean, we got a dog-damn Klonoa sweep this time. A Klonooscopy. Cloaca doing numbers. Only a matter of time before they bring back him. They are friends. We had classics dropping left to right. Chef's Life, a restaurant simulator for PS5, or Matchpoint, Tennis Championships Legends Edition. And Square Enix going damn near buck wild with the new releases. I mean, some stuff ain't even on this list. Front mission? Hello? This is like the olden days, the pre-Enix days, the days of Square Dog. Back when we had real titles like Deep Dungeon. And I suppose the soft days of Square were also rather prolific, with many very varied releases released back to back then when FF7 granted them the money and time to do so. Spanning everything and anything from fighting games and JRPGs to shoot 'em ups and FMVs. The latter being what they just did again some months ago with no one even bothering to notice, so let's talk about it. A murder done been mysteried across the annals of time, with skeleton bones being found in the garden of a rich, fancy family, and you, being a mystery novel writer, asked to look into it. Because that's who you step to. Wouldn't be the first time a game had done this, though. There's Rampo. Yeah, him. There's a Saturn game about the dude, a writer pressuring folks of a apartment complex into uncovering a spooky mystery together with his stud assistant. Sadly, Haruka here does not have a sexy mustache. Unless... And instead of questioning people dryly, she uses the power of books and imagination to solve the mysteries of the past in the present to solve the mysteries of the present. Playing quite uniquely too, essentially being a TV show letting the player pause, check additional details as they pop up, scrutinize dialogue, rewind, collect cues, and eventually put together a thesis. Not being too dissimilar from a Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa structurally, with each chapter being its own connected mystery alongside a big interrogation revelation sequence at the end. That said, where Phoenix might keep things a bit simple and Dangan relying more on action-esque timer-based shits, this game really, and I mean really, wants you to consider every angle and literally connect every dot. Thing is, I won't say nothing about the story due to spoilers, but believe me when I say that I have never in my fucking life played a game which mystery is not only incredibly complex, but also has every single facet of it meticulously laid and planned out into the finest, grainiest details. It is a plot that can survive the most intense levels of scrutiny because the gameplay consists out of the most intense levels of scrutiny.
Man, come on! Is the show starting yet or what?
As simple as the gameplay is, I do very much enjoy the process of conjuring up a theory. Shit can get really fucking layered, and maybe for some that'll feel like that Always Sunny meme, but I felt more like a sleuthing, chin-scratching, pipe-smoking detective using my wits and intuition. Even though, realistically, I was simply working with what the game gave me, as it doesn't allow one to insert clues into slots that they can't go in, but you are still engaging with the material in a way much more hands-on than most other games would ever let you, and that's just satisfying in a ape-brain type of way. Besides, just as how a puzzle won't let you force pieces, it can still be fun to work towards a completed picture either way, especially when in this case characters start pressing you to back up your case with concrete answers, building it up and layering it all out to the best of one's abilities. That said though, the dots connecting can get a tad repetitive. All the visuals and cool transitions can legit drag on a tad when you've literally been in there for whole ass hours, but that's honestly my only complaint about the game. As man, goddamn, these have to be some of the most well-constructed mysteries ever. No unfair left-field hidden shit, no unreliable narrators, no nothing never being alluded to. As alluded to, all puzzle pieces are 100% present, which, from a writing point of view, is really fucking hard to do without making shit super obvious, so fat kudos to the folks behind this game for that alone. And also, as hard as it can be to crack cases, I adore how forgiving the cases is always. Can't soft lock shit for one, and it saves hella for two, and there's checkpoints aplenty, and if you get a thing wrong, they'll let you try again from that exact spot. That's a very painless experience. It's not like 999 or whatever, where you absolutely can fuck shit up bigly. The Centennial Case is great at letting the player know when they're on the right track and making it feel more rewarding whenever they are as a result. The directing, writing, and acting help with that too, and it's got a good pace and flow to it overall. Essentially, there have been some new FMV games that seem to be more deliberately throwbacky, whereas this seems like a hard attempt at taking it somewhere new. Tapping into the lore-whoring, water-cooling, Twitter-posting, forum-fucking essay writing of how modern-day audiences engage with streaming shows, and making that an intrinsic part of the game, which I think is really cool. Yet, at the same time, it's defo also a rather slow, old-school feeling FMV as FMV adventure game. Glacial burn, stern, methodical, heady mystery type beat. It even has noticeable video compression, and it does ooze with style too. Flowing water and cherry blossom trees are worked into its UI and themes. I adore its color correcting, using hella yellows or pinkish hues and faded or darkened contrasts reminiscent of sepia in old film, accompanied by harsh bokeh depth of fields and very blown out lighting blasting in through the windows, paired up with really odd lens flaring and chromatics. It's a dramatic look. A smidge noir-y, a tad theatery, with its overacting and costume-heavy vibes, and I also fuck with the moody violins in the OST, rounding it all up with a decadent, mischievous, mysterious tone. Well, even the compression acts as a type of grain that adds quite a lot of texture to what could have looked more cheap and sterile otherwise. Not to say that this seems particularly high budget in any fashion, but there is a charm in that. It's campy, I guess. Over the top, but also very tense and serious in a engrossing way, and trust me when I say that the acting fucking hits hard whenever it needs to, too. Overall, Centennial bathes in the notion of the past clawing its way back into the present, thematically and aesthetically, and, well, just straight up based on the type of game it is as well, and I love shit like that. Cohesive ass, but yeah. Anyway, welcome to the 2022 ThorHighHeels Game Awards! Sponsored by Square Enix! Yeah, motherfuckers, that's right. A Square Enix moment in the real. Negative connotation. Well, damn. Jack done came back again, going up against a difficulty brick wall and truncated reused areas advertised as new missions with rehashed bosses in this brand new Stranger of Paradise DLC that you could not pay me to buy. Haha! Wow. Jake Generican, everybody. Woo! What a legend. So, yeah. Fuck that shit. The base game's still goated though, but the marketing for the DLC certainly came across to me as a little stinkily selective about its words to use and what to be vague about. New missions, I thought, implied new areas, but no, it's just crazy difficult side shit that has all sorts of dumb bullshit requirements for even unlocking it in the first place, aside from having to pay for it, and I ain't doing that. Definitely not the worst business choice Square made this year though, cause holy fucking shit, dog. First of all, Chocobo GP, giving that the Scam Award. It is not lost on me that I bookended the year with Square. My first vid of 2022 was a video on Squaresoft renders, and my last vid is this. Thumbnails mirroring the times. As stated in the opening pre-award theming preamble prior to prying away at a Centennial Case, Square's in a fairly similar place. As they were in the 90s, as they were dropping games back to back. Some classics, some fun experiments, some cult classics, others big failures, but in all cases, always at least part of a fun creative output. And right now, in the 20s, in between our shit, Stranger, all the games to be featured in this video, Forspoken, and the upcoming 16, they certainly have a very fun and interestingly varied output once more. Sonic quote. Yeah! Woo! Hell yeah. Also, man, I had access to the press assets for this one, which I did not have for these games, which is why there's crust on these women's. On the other hand, this thumbnail being very coordinated with the forward motion conveyed through the feathers, the sword, the bottle cap blitz ball, and the racers, and the others seeming a bit busier and less neatly organized, as if more of an explosion going off in every direction, is also pretty thematically on the ball with where Square is as opposed to where they was in the meta sense, so fuck it, dog, I'm rolling with it. It also originally looked like this back in July, so crisis averted, to be honest. Suppose NFTs were a pretty big thing last year until now, where they died a dog's death. And not to toot my own doot, but I could tell pretty much right away that these shits weren't shit. For instance, telltale signs of a brand new medium tend to contain small new artists cropping up, the porn industry embracing it first and foremost, and it's scaring the piss out of huge corporations, being that it's something that they can't or aren't controlling yet. That's how it was with home video VHS, that's how it was with MP3 and file sharing, and that's how it was with streaming and online video and so on and so forth. But with NFTs, it was seemingly literally only huge corporations, grifters, people rejected from other spaces for being too cringe or gross, retired conmen, and weirdo libertarians singing its praises, which, I mean, you know... She was like a goddamn gathering of crew members of sinking or sunken ships all getting aboard this really big new boat that was totally gonna be the one. And of course, where there is holes, there is Yosuke Matsuda, the Square Enix CEO. Square Enix goes all in on blockchain with the new Oasis partnership. Cut to months later, where rumors of a new Parasite Steve universe game start cropping up due to the registering of the trademark Symbiogenesis, only Square Enix global NFT collectible art project Symbiogenesis. New franchise, official Twitter account. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool logo, I guess. But yeah, it's... Man, this shit is deader than dead now, and here fucking Hank Noodle Cup bitch CEO is dropping an NFT project when nothing but backlash awaits. I'm gonna peg a hazard a guess on this and say that Symbiogenesis is almost certainly where it begins and ends when it comes to Skex Web3. I don't think this is gonna do well for him. Speaking of not doing well though, this was also the year where SE did away with a ton of their non-Japanese IP. Sadly, we will not see a Nomura version of Akuji the Heartless anytime soon.
It's tail time!
There's something bittersweet about it to me though, as those studios didn't seem like they were treated very well per se, or were respected at least in the same way the Japanese collaborators and devs are at Square Japan internally. Even I spoke pretty harshly about their output too in the past, at least within the context of presentations. I mean, I love the Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raiders, for example. I thought they were great, and I think Crystal Dynamics is great. Gex, Kane, Kuji, legendary studio, but it's not what I or most core Square fans want from Square, so they announce a presentation and people are like, oh fuck, maybe FF7 remake shit. Oh dang, maybe Final Fantasy 16 big trailer, or Kingdom Hearts 13 trilogy collection, or a new Parasite Steve game. Whoa! Only to then be sitting there watching 30 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy while stewing in your own salt. And by all means, that game seems pretty neat too. It's not really my cup of tea, but I like dumb single-player third-person shooters, so I'd almost certainly enjoy it should I ever play it, but it's not what I want from Square. I think the only Western Square thing that has managed to resonate with its fans is Life is Strange, which I also adore. And it makes perfect sense to me too as to why it would. Female protag, emo vibes, queer-coded as fuck, mass hangout ability. It's not Japanese in any capacity, but the idea that a bunch of motherfuckers who like androgynous Twinkie pretty games about exploring cool worlds with often awkward dialogue, it's like, yeah, duh, of course they're gonna vibe more with a gay-ass adventure game than some manly shoot-man man-guy game. So, yeah, as cool as some of it was, it's probably for the best that Square let the majority of their non-Japanese IP go. Even if they only did it to free up a budget for their NFT garbage. Perhaps they re-released Live Alive side by side as to take eyes away from this blunder. Certainly the funner thing to talk about now, as this is a other hella late localization. Started from the Silver Case, now we hear, with Moon, Kowloon, Scar the Doll, and now Square giving us a SNES game with rather nice colorful 2.5D graphics.
L E
Damn, we finally got a sequel to The. Now, if there's one thing that old Cloaca has over new Cloaca, it's the pure magic that occurs when 2D sprites on a 3D plane. Live Alive understood this and essentially modernized the style while staying true to it. Because really, this does just look like a fancier version of old school 2.5D as you'd see on PS1, right down to its use of crunchy textures placed on small models. Picture's a little babby room for one. A tiny wash bin, the Minecraft bed, the Sminny picture frame, the Wii lights bleeping and blooping away. It all adds such a punctuated punchiness to the geometry that makes me want to engage with it more. As if these cute little handcrafted papercraft environments, Lego sets, just ooh, what's this now? How cute. Which is why Live Alive gets the Bestinest Art Style Award. Other contenders would have been Bow to Elf and its uncanny, off-puttingly realistic Try Not to Come challenge CG renders, Atama and its PS360-esque Steam horror vibings boasting some really incredible lighting configurations for real, and Haisan Meguri looking like a Wii horror game, but none, perhaps unfairly due to budgetary reasons, could quite match the sheer variety that Live Alive has. And also, this style is just deeply nostalgic to me, because yeah, whether it be all the wee gubbins in the Chinese village, the fruits, the stalls, the baskets, the shirts on hangers, the grass tufts and panels on roofs all topped off with heartwarmingly chunky pixelated texture work, or peep the grass in Shinobi World. Chunk. Or the tiny table decorations in the Cowboy Saloon. With the FF12ian bottles and glasses, the Minecraftian chandeliers, the chunky little barrels, or the stairs and upstairs railings as opposed to the isometric angle, popping up as if a pop-up picture book. I fucking adore how all of this looks.
What the fuck? When is he gonna talk about the game?
Far as I can tell, the SNES game was a little basic looking, far as Square's output was at the time, so it's really cool to see them going absolutely ham on this remake that way. Looking more like a remaster of a PS1 remake than anything. But then the modern stuff also adds just so much. Just in this saloon, again, alone, there's the dusk particles and the light sheaths shining on through windows and the soft sunsetty hues. It all adds, and that's not even speaking of how this entire town brightly, amberly, and redly comes to life at night. So many soft glows, shit's gorgeous. Bamboo thickets casting dancing shadows, tumbleweeds, leaves, and dust blowing on through the cowboy street. A serene as brook with dancing flowers, sunny god rays, and eye-piercingly green grass.
Cat, what are you doing? Cat, leave the bag alone.
The shinobi story takes place in ancient Japan on a windy night, hence why it is entirely candlelit, with warm amber hues breaking up the deep blues of the shrubbery shaking night. Nothing quite like sneaking around a dusty attic with wee dusk particles kicking up as you shuffle, neither. And sometimes the little sheen shading added to shit makes environments look almost pre-rendered. Like, look at this cute little caveman home. Tomba vibes aside, the hint of a glint on this spot along with the cozy orange lighting casting high contrast shadows on the low poly rounded rocks to me looks very reminiscent of many old PS1 pre-renders just uncompressed. Not to mention how great the pixel art is. These characters is all hecka detailed and there's so many custom animations for one-off scenes and objects for them to interact with, as well as variations on models for story changes. The entire thing reeks of high effort, which, let's be real, that's not typically how Square handles their backlog. Fitting, I suppose, given how Live Alive in and of itself is essentially a loving homage to a smattering of pop cultural icons, that it would be treated with such retrospect respect itself. Though, I think it looks fucking incredible even bereft of that context. Stuff like this is more than just technical limitations or budgetary choices. It is a bona fide art style. Imagine how nice a Klonoa remake could have looked if it have looked like this. Imagine a Tomba remaster in this style. A Xenogears one. I'd be down. Until then though, Live Alive gets the Best in this art style award. Or well, realistically, it should go to Producer 2021 by Stuffed Wombat, soundtrack by ThorHighHeels. But that is a conflict of interest.
And now, please welcome celebrity guest Rick Ross.
Yes, me, Rick Ross, here to present the hardest, bestest video game brick.
And the nominees are Hyson McGoody,
Like, dang, these bricks is fat as fuck.
Automaton Lung,
Wow, so cripsy.
and finally, Stranger of Paradise.
Wow, so pretty.
And the winner is...
Stranger of Paradise. Wow, so pretty. People out here saying Stranger look like a PS3 game? Bitch, no. Also, using that derogatorily is now cringe. And is gonna make whatever you're saying look dated ass in due time, just like those motherfuckers who used to be all like, "Ugh, looks like a PS2 game. Looks just like a Dreamcast game. Looks like an N64 game," or whatever the fuck. It's gonna make one look boomer once waves change tides, carrying past present vibes. You're gonna be made fun of for it, and not just by me. Though Babylon's Fall, and I say this wholly non-derogatorily, does look like a PS3 game. Smoke on this Unreal 3 hair for a minute. These muddy, oily textures. The faded brown color palette. Incredible. I have no idea what led to this exactly, because Square has money and Platinum has, well, they have fans, so they must have been doing something right at some point, but something's defo up with what Babylon's Fall is putting down. I bought a new sealed copy for a whopping $12 to be able to find out myself, only... It hits me with a, for some reason in Dutch, despite my American PSN account and PS5 system settings, screen to subscribe to whatever this bullshit is. If I back out and retitle screen, it takes me back here, so, yeah, go fuck yourself, game. Disrespectful piece of shit. Hope your life service ambitions go very well for you, Platinum.
Biggest Failure of the Year Award.
The newest PS360 Game of the Year award ain't going to this shit though. A more well-deserving game of that would be Drakengard 3 2. Valkyrie Elysium is a new entry in the goddamn Valkyrie profile series. 1 on PS1, 2 on 2, and 3 on 5. Guess it's on 4 too, but it'll run like shit and look blurrier than a Switch game. Though even on tenuously current gen hardware, it has a very faded grey look to it. Which reminded me of Drakengard 3. Or indeed many other PS360 titles. This is because it takes after Norwegian mythology about Valkyrie, i.e. women in cool armor who can suck up souls of dead people so that they may then become their imaginary friends with whom they'll do war with, for, and even against the gods. Hence why the entire series takes place in rather cold, windy places. Sure, the original might have some elegant parallaxing, scrolling, animated layers of pixel art, CG renders, hand-drawn characters, and 3D particle effects all topped off with gradiated lighting layers for god rays, but it's still a very bleak world teetering on the edge of destruction, overrun by sickness, slavery, discrimination, and harsh weather conditions. Nothing topical about any of this, no way, no sir. Though, I swear to god though, the plot is fucking unhinged. Ghoul powder. And the gameplay is all like, technical arts energy is charged, purify weird soul, step on it, press button. And enhancing the full experience is an amazing score by the ever legendary Moitoi Sakuraba, conveying angelic scales. Chaotic, baroque action. The mystique of godly powers. And dramatic sorrow.
I am Valkyrie, messenger from Valhalla. Cheers.
Valkyrie profile.
Enix.
All of Motoi Sakuraba's music, though, from about 95 to 2005 sort of sounds the same. Positive connotation. Relying heavily on the Roland sound canvas and the JV-1080 as his standard workhorse, thus lending a consistent instrumentation style that pairs well with his very consistent composition style. The hazy voices of the JV series, for instance, perfect for his desert themes. The woodwinds and punchy plucks perfectly befit of goofy character moments. And the wildly layered synths, organs, and harpsichords ideal for hymns prog jammings. It's such a consistently comfy blanket of sound. Playing Valk made me fondly reminisce of playing Golden Sun or Mario Tennis or Mario Tennis Power Tour, Tales of Symphonia, Eternia, or Vesperia, even if those games are all wholly different otherwise. And so, I will use this window to discuss this year though and what I consider to be the goodest OST. First contender I had was About an Elf and its big fat dembo beats, string suites, and record scratches. Another one is Defo Stranger Paradise and its fat dummy remixes of old FF tunes, and shout out to Stray and its sneaky jazzy cat music too. There's a couple songs on either OST that I defo went to listen to outside of the respective games for real. However, nothing could have prepared me for Sonic fucking Frontiers. I think the only track on the whole OST I didn't like was the music that played during the third world, as the other overworld songs were nice. I love the somber piano melody in the first, and the deserty comfiness in 2 is goated, but my fucking god dog, the hecking cyberspace levels, back to back, continuously and continuously blowed, blown, and sucked away by how every single boost track in this bitch is goddamn goated. There was cool jazzy D&B and twerked up footwork and energized bro step and soaring vibes all around. Every track perfectly suited for blasting off, making me feel as if I could fly. Though truly, the OST of 2022 is actually Producer 2021 by Stuffed Wombat, soundtrack by ThorHighHeels. But that's a conflict of interest. It's so nice seeing the opulent, drippy, and dire Valk art style conveyed in FF12ian fidelity like this. Or rather, seeing screenshots of VP2 and being baffled by how high budget it seemed for something I know no one has played. Though then, seeing it in motion and catching the facial animations is like...
You will be adequately compensated. Will you accompany me?
Sounds fair.
Ah, yes. I see. Totally, it's way more bubbly and bustling, however. The faded color palette is there for sure, but we got lively little towns this time around with fucking cats, baby! Still using the same 2D exploration, funnily enough. All these gubbins, cute interiors, mini flasks, desks, stables, stools, and crates are cute, and on the same hand, the deliberate angling allowed them to use hella compositioning and 2D elements to make for some vibrantly animated screens. Similar as to how Live Alive did, it seems as if every plant has to be waving, every sign a sweeping, every street filled with birds, cats, tons of people that didn't all necessitate written dialogue due to their unreachability, and every window blasting out 2D sheaths of golden light.
And therefore, we will now bring you the 2022 Game Cat Award.
This year we've had Stray Cat, Saints Row Cat, Kamiwaza Inventory Cat, Yomawari Lost in the Dark Cats, and Star Ocean the Divine Force Cat.
And the winner is...
Willem. Yeah, this motherfucker featured in a fair few of my videos this year because, hey, I have a cat now. He was always sort of my cat, but not just my cat. See, in 2012, I got homeless till I moved into a shitty apartment in a hell flat with my dad, where 1 year in, a mom cat done littered in the trash, and that's where he came from. I lived with him until 2019 when I moved to where I live now, and he stayed behind with my dad, who, Well, let's just say that my sister's birthday that we were going to celebrate there didn't go exactly as intended. And so now, he's here, enriching my life, giving happy greetings when I come back home from literally fucking anywhere, and always deciding to get loud as fuck the moment I tried to record voiceover, which totally isn't very annoying. Can't stay mad though, this bitch is cute as fuck. Old dad thing dying did put a bit of a damper on a good chunk of my year though, not gonna lie. Happened during the production of my hugest video too, which was already beginning to feel as if I bit off a chunk too many, and then this shit. Sucked as well, because I had this whole big fun finale planned where I'd go over to my dad's place with the Vita and record footage of me trying to get Willem into Reality Fighter. If that game's coverage felt at all truncated, then this is why. I even filmed B-roll of me walking there. It was going to be a cute IRL live-action segment, but I had to scrap most of it as one of the funnier non-sequitur gags that accidentally happened to me during it suddenly felt like it would be in poor taste to just drop on in there. Nothing stopping me from including it here, though. Shout out to cats. Shout out to my dad. I think my dad just low-key admitted to being a furry or having a friend who's a furry. He was just talking about this guy, and he draws like animals, right? But they're like hot. They kind of look like people. They're not like animals. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about it. And I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool. I was just remembering it. Oh yeah, that was some really good art. It was really hot. And I was just sitting there yeah, for sure. I get what you mean, bro. Oh my God, is that a cat with a little jacket? Hello. Hello. Ain't that perfect? Man, in the late 2000s, Mana switched up his style, de-emphasizing his previously abundantly overt and over-pronounced prog rock influences in favor of more typical classical music-type orchestrations, like his OST for Dark Souls. Even still though, I can still pick up on the vibes and types of chords and musical phrases he likes to use, as hearing this I was instantly reminded of this. Made by Soleil, creators of future 2023 GOTY contender Wanted Dead and former devs behind the only Wii U game Devil's Third, Valkyrie Elysium is the action gamification of Profile. Still being about a cool lady tasked by Odin to soul-suck humans to stop the end of the world, but the prior two titles had very odd and experimental combat systems, neither of which explained very well, and LSSC has scathingly traditional combat. In a old school, this plays a lot like every action game on 360 that didn't use guns sort of way. Right down to square doing light attacks and triangle doing heavies, just like every beat 'em up ever. Camera is also centered, nothing low angled or shouldery, with at times being able to simply let it sit as if a lockdown, being that one doesn't even have to see who you're fighting. Magical grappling hooky zippy zooming between enemies with lock on in tow. Does translate how the other games played, of course. They're still face buttony summoning, stun stagger block states corroborating with elements and hit belting, and it sure as shit keeps the flashiness alive by a fuck ton.
It's really loud, and there's a lot of particle effects and things happening at once with your party. It's really great. I like it.
But if you've played Heavenly Sword or Genji or any other PS3 era hack and slasher, it's a bit like those, if a lot smoother. The animation work is glidey, buttery, swervy. I love the flow that the grappling hook magic adds, and the aerial combat is damn near amazing. Honestly, if anything, feel-wise, it reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 2. And where it shares its simplicities and maybe some repetitivities, it also has some of its hidden depth, being that every weapon has crazy expansive movesets and that your party members flesh out in dope ways too. Possibly the most refreshing thing about Elysium, though, is its structure. it's linear. Look at these maps. Yeah, there's deviations, but you're not plopped into these fuck-ass expanses. There's no open worldy shit. It is just actual fucking levels. And I like big maps, I like open world games, but the trend of them being shoved into games that either don't necessarily need to be that way or even actively become more bloated and worse off as a result of them, I think is gonna fade away soon. I mean, I got shit to do. Sometimes I just want to walk through pretty hallways, and Valkyrie Elysium certainly had my back on that. But yeah, as stated, it reminded me of Drakengard 3 a lot pre-release, mainly due to its color palette, and I was also intrigued by them showing this beautiful Andro dude on Twitter and casually dropping that he's a fucking slave trader. Having played Profile though, I now know that this is just sort of how the series rolls. It is, again, set in a world of decay filled with people in deep dark places in life. Structurally, in one, you got a place upon which a story would unfold in a rather meaty cutscene sequence with tons of exclusive art, characters, and assets resulting in a new dead party member by the end of it. Like the tale of a lost little mermaid girl who takes her own life, a kid getting shipped off to war and dying, a samurai fighting his own demons, or, indeed, also a fella who's trying to buy a slave while not trying to make his other slave too sad about the whole ordeal. Yeah, you end up with quite the fucko bingus crew as a result, even if they all shut the fuck up post-joining Earthbound style. Luckily, 3 does not do that, and you have yourself an actual talkative party. But it does follow a very similar setup. Absorb the essence of those whomst fuckiest of the soul, but now rigidly levels-based with no obtuse map and sacrificial mechanics, being more traditionally JRPG-y, basically. Sure as shit likes you to remember the first though, I'll say that. Square knows how iconic the White Flower Fields is, being gift to shit online, and so now that's literally the first thing you fucking see when booting it up. It's the second thing you see on the title screen, and the third thing during the tutorial, and you can bet your ass they're coming back later in ways I won't spoil. Yet, it is a very different world in a different state, as we're way further towards the inevitable destruction now. The map screen showing large stretches of scorched earth, levels being dotted with overgrown ruins and formerly hustlin' bustlin' JRPG towns left bombed out, destroyed, deserted, and hollowed out by viruses. With the few remaining people staying locked in and almost never going outside, only speaking through doors, if at all, and the rest lingering on as ghosts. Wow. So much lore. Obviously, handling the towns like this is a easy budgetary choice, but thematically I really like the vibe. Similar as to how Death Stranding used it, it really does make this world feel completely dead. Entire cities left in rainy, tumultuous disarray, with water still blue, homes still decorated, but gondolas left alone solely to aimlessly drift in the windy ocean. Besides, it doesn't mean that we can't get colorful neither. The jungle area and its golden god rays shimmering past trees and ruins and poppin' flowers accentuating the overgrown paths and structures. And I love the snowy zone too, it's so fucking bright and comfy. And man, look at these shiny stairs, reminiscent of the shiny road, and the shiny grass, and the shiny gate, and the shiny wood. Not to mention the shiny stairs from Stranger of Paradise. I quite enjoyed, though, seeing it try to mimic the opulence of one while clearly being a budget game made up out of starkly detailed environments topped off with bloom and shaders and modern-day AA outlines. But those at least carry over some of the hand-drawn energy of the original and look great, especially on elements far in the back where they add a sort of grainy overlay type thing that makes shit look still. Love the color palette as well, with faded greens, glowing marble whites, golden accents, and ever moody skyboxes. It's nice. Can't believe they even honored 2's facial animations though. Wow. Now, I've seen many people say that Elysium has no story, and I can kinda get where that's coming from, as it's the impression I first got too. Thing is that the first couple hours have nothing. Not even an establishing cutscene, it's just boilerplate Odin boss man telling you to do this, and then you go do this. Valkyrie Lady says nothing and simply does her solo, not yet flashy gameplay thing for the first 2 levels, and that's a lot of time. Enough time even for an impression to set in, which can then become a lens that the rest will be filtered through. And so, you got reviewers jotting that down, taking it as is and never reflecting further, but here's the kicker. Once you start getting party members, the game slowly begins to come alive. They begin chatting in little cutaway cutscenes at the start of levels, during or after boss fights, and engaging Wii event triggers, chatting while exploring, and even hang out back at base sharing their thoughts. A cool villain lady will show up too, who gets her girl to question her shit. The other party members will be introduced way better than the first one was, as well as the first guy just sort of showed up with little fanfare or drama. And very gradually, more than parts being summed will begin to then. Because you see, I think there's a very good fucking reason as to why the story starts off so empty. It is due to our main girl being hollow. Odin literally spawned her in as a pawn, so she's all about the mission, cutting convos short, never striking up any herself, thus leaving the player in silence. But eventually, as the party grows, they will, as humans do, proceed to ask her shit. This is also where side quests get introduced, which almost always involve fleshing them out, and before you know it, you get big cutscenes with big drama and even get to see the bitch smile or cry. So I think it's intentional. Start the game off cold and lonely and have the story and characters bloom in parallel with how our leading lass opens up and becomes more human herself, as that's really what the plot is about. The Odin objectives are only a means to a means to give the game overall a good bit of structure and pacing.
Well, actually, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, I'd like to find out more about the Valkyrie.
Wouldn't we all? Although, now that I think about it, I feel like she's changed recently. When I first met her, it was like she was a puppet or something. She had no emotion, just completely focused on the task at hand.
I remember feeling that too. Yet, recently, she started to listen more to what we have to say.
You're saying that she's becoming more human-like?
I'm not normally one to shit on how other people write their coverage of a game, but man, I don't know. You don't exactly need to be a genius level media literate to pick up on this shit. It has a story. A pretty uniquely told one too that does the exact inverse thematically of the original, which I think is cute. There, you sacrificed people in weird experimental saga-ian mechanics, got to know them, and then they were nothing. And here, you make friends and learn to have big emotions over time. And so I grew to really love this cast too, through their interactions. Though I also know that a lot of that is optional. If you don't explore thoroughly, talk to everyone, do side stuff, not even all of it, but still, you can miss out on some pretty crucial shit that led me to this point. Suppose if you're on the clock as well for whatever shitfuck journo job you rush through, do only the main quests back to back and maybe not even finish it all the way. Hell, a lot of its middling rep seems to stem from the fucking demo, which in a classic Square Enix publishing move of incompetence shows the game off with the quiet, cold and first 2 hours, instead of plucking literally any other chapter to show the game off with. Similar to the first one, this one really rewards the time you spent in it with buckets of story content and increasingly more unhinged, flashy gameplay unlocked through it. But none of that is there in the first couple hours, and less of it is there when you rush through. So I do get how it's quickly gained a sort of meh reputation, but I'd say it's still hella worth a playthrough, as I honestly adore Valkyrie Elysium. Oh my god. From the comfy, snowy, stormy environments to the slow burn story building up to sweeping dramatic energies, the coolest fuck character design and the fluid and fun combat, to the Motoi Sakuraba OST draped in nostalgic energies, the chill as fuck sub 20-hour runtime, and this lovable cast of weirdos you get to spend time with. Plus, it has those 7th gen as fuck you transitions too.
Just like Dark Souls!
Hence why I will gladly give it
the newest PS360 Game of the Year award!
Yep, that's right, I did it. Okay, stop clapping now. Realistically, it is mostly just a modern-day AA game than something that could have shown up on PS3, aesthetically and gameplayally, but I don't want to give fucking Babylon's Fall that reward. Fuck off. Yet again, it is very linear, but I'm also more inclined to call that forward-thinking than backwards-thinking, because in a post-Elden Ring, post-Sonic Frontiers, post-Death Stranding, post-Breath of the Wild world, it's like, the fuck are you even gonna do with the open world that we haven't seen already by now? Sometimes progress is a step backward to make sure we didn't take any wrong turns, and so I wouldn't be surprised at all if this decade we start seeing linear games make a bit of a resurgence again, just with some lessons learned from the open worldness. Maximizing space, making traversal more inherently engaging, putting little mini challenges and goodies off to the side, and also take some cues from Soul's design using views, scaling, player eye guiding, and gradual unlocking to make your hallways feel as if a bigger part of a world, all of which Valk 3 defo does. So yeah, I can see this shit slowly coming back again for sure, at least within the AA space for now, as, I mean, to follow up this reward, we probably should also have one for the bestest newest PS2 game too. Kamiwaza was literally a PS2 game, so I could give it to that, but new doesn't really work so much, so I'm gonna give it to goddamn mother heckin' Gungrave Gore. I was not ready for this game to be more of the same of a game from 2002. Gameplay the same, loud, dumb, neon, repetitive, hallways, auto-aim, square, aka me in this video, interspersed with stylish cutscenes about a dark, grimy, druggy plot, and the whole thing is about 12 hours long.
Swagged up off the block. Blessed.
Genuinely though, a game like this existing along with Evil West or Valkyrie Elysium is such a good omen. The middle market is a goated zone. Games that require less of a monetary investment and can thus be less surefiredly assumed to be commercially viable. If Grave had bigger sales pressure, it'd have to concede more, with perhaps regular third-person controls, maybe a more conventional story with like actual stakes or emotions, like make Grave relatable by giving him a kid or a fucking personality or some other coward shit, but no, this is a game where the style is its substance, staying as true to its roots as it possibly could. I mean, there was a wee moment here where I was simply looking around for a bit, proceeded to stiffly jump over the blatant blockade and then panned across the city. As this crisis-Corian dirge of Cerberian music went off in the background, it was then that I was overcome with a sensation of, damn, dog, I'm playing some lost PSP or PS2 title right now. It even has the sudden in-cutscene QTEs a la RE4. That OST though, it uses Spectrasonics drum loops, which are sample packs pretty much only used in the 90s and 2000s, and also that distorted, monotone, edgy man rap style from nu metal and DMC3. The enemy barks also were definitely not done by the English VA team, which is fucking great. And all of that puts Gore in such a specific old-school mood, which is exactly why it is the most PS2ist game of 2022. With that said, I don't quite recall the original being specifically much of a looker during gameplay, and this one makes great use of ray tracing, colored point lights, wetness, and deep Killer-is-Deadian contrasts to make for quite some nice-looking spaces. I also love the blown-out sound design, the fuck-all need for mechanical depth with its mindless smashing, mashing, and bashing, dudes exploding into bloody bits and the environment detonating and crumbling around you. And gameplay that plays like nothing else out there right now. Yeah, it's a dumb game to be sure, but it sure as shit isn't generic in any capacity either. What it might lack in polish, it makes up for by not being an open world, crafting system, over-the-shoulder side quests, bloated 40 hours long Skinner box with way too many systems. I feel like I've played this before I'm up. It's got that one gameplay idea sort of design that many indies have, just as Kamiwaza did too. That game had its stealth style chain shit, and this has its kick their ass mash button to explosion shit. Only, unlike many indies, it does have full modern 3D graphics. It does have many voiced cutscenes and physical copies that sit side by side the AAA games. I love indies too, don't get me wrong, but there has to be more to games as an art form or an industry than a hard binary of one-man guy type games and crippling crunch 10 billion budget type games. I want a spectrum. A gradient of games, and I'm very glad that in the past handful of years we've been seeing that come back as it was back in the 6th gen. As Gore sits in a long, tenuously venerated line of what I like to call Japanese meathead shooters. Yakuza Dead Souls, Bullet Witch, 10,000 Bullets, Dirge, EDF. Games that don't handle like regular shooters, don't value what most other shooters value, and just want to present a unique and stylish interpretation of a power fantasy. And titles like these don't and can't exist without the AA console games market. Thing is, too, AA games more or less went fully handheld over the course of the latter half of the 2000s, and I love what it did there, but action primarily stopped being its bread and butter, favoring adventure gaming affairs. But now, the portable zone is pretty much gone outside of mixed use or specialized interest gear like the Steam Deck. 2As have now returned to the big screen, free to embrace non-gimmicky controls, dual analog, and the scale and spectacle lended by more powerful hardware. I mean, just look at Grave's environmental variety in Flare alone. Venus jungles, neon-laden skunk cities, frozen over brick building slums, a casino level, and gold, marble, skyscrapers, statues, dare I say it, Sophista future. Again, the game looks pretty great, makes use of that PS5 for 4K 60 fps very nicely, and as has been the whole point of the video so far, Square has certainly been using this opportunity too. I ain't covering them due to time reasons, but we just got a PS360 as front mission remake, Harvestella looking cute with towns flowing like wine, Dio Field bringing back tactics JRPGs in a big way, which sure as shit was something relegated to handhelds for a long ass time, and we even got a new Star Ocean that legit seems to be giving it its all despite clearly being a cheaper affair than the Final Fantasies, and hey, my good friend Oni Dino worked on it as a localization lead even. Fuck yeah. And of course, Square also dropped this year's GOTY, Stranger of Paradise. But truly, the Game of the Year 2022 is actually Producer 2021 by Stuffed Wombat, soundtrack by ThorHighHeels, though that's a conflict of interest. There was a lot more competition than I thought there'd be, honestly. Stray, Live Alive, Valkyrie Elysium, a new goddamn Boku game. It's still crazy that happened. Sonic Frontiers are all games I loved, but Stranger is still my fave. That game seemed almost too good to be true to me, so specifically catered to my exact dumb tastes. It has been a great year for horror games. We had Hello Neighbor 2, Hello Neighbor Calypso Protocol that nobody liked, RE8 DLC that I haven't played yet, and of course, Haison Meguri and Otama, which was the goodest one. Yeah, it's not exactly banging out gangbusters, though perhaps the real horror was real life. To be fair, my shit wasn't as bad compared to like most years of my life. What I mentioned in 2020 still holds true today, but man, losing your dad kinda sucks to be honest. What didn't help either was some choices I made at the start of the year. Thing B, I wanted to keep up with new games this time. I invented a new So I've Been Playing format to do it with, which worked, with a combination of showing games and vids on bigger topics like Stray and Liminal Space, and doing the spips where I can talk about whatever, whenever. I managed to do it, but it also sort of fucked with my workflow really badly. I'm not a hard worker. I ain't nearly capital pilled enough for that shit. Fuck y'all, willing and able. But normally, how I do vids was to make a video and then spend a week or two vibing. casually prepping some things, jotting down ideas, and then getting back into a new project proper. But in 2022, I'd finish a video and then work on the OST for Lunacid, work on the OST and sound effects for Producer 2021, work on my next album, which is going to be incredible. And then before I'd even had time to gestate on new video ideas, oops, oh fuck, oh shit, new game just dropped, time to figure out a way to cover it ASAP. And so I did end up pushing myself a bit in ways that I normally never would and have now decided won't ever do again. I mean, just look at this video alone. This is all the built up shit I'm catching up on right before the year ends, not to mention it being a product of several projects consolidating, which, has been most of my videos done this year, really. It's like, oh, I want to talk about this game, but then I think like, no one would want to watch that, or it needs a bit more substance maybe, and then other smaller ideas would pile on top, like a review of Yakuza 7, mainly focus on its environments, languishing for months, eventually being hacksawed into another video idea about how uncanny and cool the Rings Terror's realm is. I was gonna do that as a So I've Been Playing, but I didn't want to have to beat the Rings Terror's realm, so I de-emphasized that game, but then I'd feel like I'd have to add more, and then the idea about liminal spaces came about, and so both of those old vids had a new home now. But then Stray came out, and then Haisen Meguri came out, and then before I knew it, video nearly an hour long. Great video though, I'm super proud, but it's still a creatively toxic headspace for me, I think. Even this video originally was gonna have reviews for Harvestella and Star Ocean in there too, but no. In 2023, I'ma just focus on the projects I really want to do and only the aspects of them I truly care about, and not let any made-up worries regarding hypothetical viewers or new game releases get in my way. It was a fun experiment either way though, but one I do felt I ended up suffering under. But I'm still very proud of what came out regardless. Even if views dropped off a bit near the end of the year, that's not my fault, so it's not my problem. Besides, it's not like I need views to live. Shout out to my Patreons. I never would have thought this list of names would have gotten as long as it did, and while that makes it harder to implement them creatively like how I like to do, that is also by far and away the thing I'm most thankful for in life today. Y'all have made it so that I don't even have to think about numbers anymore, and I have dyscalculia. I don't even know how to pronounce that, because I'm dyslexic too. So that fucking rules. Fuck numbers, fuck money, and fuck math.
My brain is free!